Hey, good evening, guys. Welcome. I suppose we can say to tonight's episode, right? And going live now on Instagram, tradition. All right, we're up and running on Instagram and a couple of our other channels. And I wanted to talk to you today about that negative self voice in our head. We can work to surround ourselves with people who are adults, surround ourselves with people who are kind. We can start to work to build a life that's optimal for ourselves, where we can be kind to ourselves. And the big thing, actually, you know what, guys, I'm going to turn on comments. So comments is now turned on. Please let me know. If you want to know anything during the broadcast, just feel free to ask in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer it. Back to negative self-talk. Where does our negative self-talk come from? How old were we when we first heard it? What did it make us feel? Whose voice are we hearing? Think about these things, guys. Go way back to when you first felt it. We've touched on this a little bit before, where we think as adults, but we really do feel as children. And for me, it's my little 4-year-old guy that I feel everything as. When I have negative self-talk or negative thoughts, so I'm not backing myself, I'm not supporting myself. And these are all wonderful topics for other conversations and other episodes. So when you start that conversation in your head, where you're putting yourself down, you're telling yourself you're not good enough, you're telling yourself you don't deserve it, you're telling yourself you're not capable, you're not able, you don't have what it takes. Whatever you tell yourself, whatever those negative things are that you tell yourself, when you start to hear those voices in your head, think carefully, whose voice is it? Who was the adult that was telling you these things? Who was the person that was telling you these things when you first heard them? How old were you when you first heard them? And how did they make you feel? Because the truth is, we tend to default, right, back to old behaviors, back to old thought processes. And that's the whole work and objective and job of becoming optimal. We need to work to break down those beliefs, those feelings, those senses that we had about ourselves, the negativity, because every time we want to move to being better, becoming more optimal, becoming our very best, building a life of quality and of value that we can love, those negative voices come up in our head and they tell us we can't, we're not good enough, we don't deserve it. And that's going to hinder our progress, if not stop it completely. And none of us deserve that. So I would like you guys, please, to take the time to uncover, to unpack, and to understand who is talking in your head. When did you first hear those voices? Who is the one telling you? Who do you hear? And it might be a difficult and uncomfortable place to go to, because that might be the voice of someone that we love, or someone that we desperately try and love and put on a pedestal, like a parent or a teacher or a guardian or a sibling. All of these things can be very, very difficult to process. But when we can start to unpack whose voice, how it makes us feel, how old were we when we first heard it, then we can start to realize that actually we're feeling as a child. And that negative, deep seated emotion and pain that we're feeling is how we felt as a child, and we don't have to feel it as an adult. It's not something that we have to accept or believe as an adult. When we're young, when we're children, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, and we get this negative talk, we believe the people who are telling us because we get taught, we get trained, we get programmed to believe adults, to believe people who are older than us, that they know better and that they're right. So if they're telling us negative things and they're right, we have to believe those negative things, even if they're not true. That's a big thing. Thanks, me. I love the comment. Always raising the game, as are you. Thank you. So understand, tear it apart, break it down. Whose voice are you hearing? Who's telling you this story? And you're feeling it as a child. You know, the thing, and we'll touch on this in another video, but we feel as kids, right? And we need to understand, we need to access inside of ourselves, where do we feel it? So for me, I'm feeling it right now. I feel it tight in my chest and a coldness across my shoulders and across my back. And I go, hang on a second, wait, that's my anxiety, that's my negative self-belief. And I go back to the first time that I felt it. It was almost like my back is cold because my back was up against a wall when I was being spoken to like this. I felt trapped. I felt I couldn't get away. I was stuck with my back against a cold wall. And I go, okay, I'm feeling as a child, but I need to think as an adult. So the negativity that I tell myself, the things that I say where I'm no good, I'm not capable, I'm not able, I cannot trust myself, there's no way I can move forward, there's no way I can move out of where I am, there's nothing I can do other than being trapped and stuck here because I don't have the ability, the intelligence, the intellect, the capabilities. All of that stuff is not true. I've never met anyone in the 17 years that I've been sober, in recovery or out of recovery, that their negative self-talk, those negative things they told themselves, was true. Of hundreds, thousands of people, nobody's self-talk was actually true. Which means your self-talk is not true. The negative things you tell yourself about yourself are not true. Most of the negative things we get told, I believe, are told by people through their filters and their pain and their anxiety. Someone's not capable of reaching their dreams, so they believe, so they want to break down ours. So just remember this as we start to move forward, as we start to move towards becoming the very best version of who we are, to becoming our very best, to becoming optimal, which is a lifetime of work. Don't believe your negative self-talk. And when you hear it and when you tell yourself it, think, whose voice? How old was I when I heard this? How does this make me feel? Where am I feeling this? And start to unpack it and break it down. And if you can, start to write it down. Start to write down what you tell yourself, how it makes you feel, where it takes you back to, and whose voice you're hearing. Thank you for joining me today, guys. I really appreciate it. My commitment to you every day except Saturday. I love you guys. Have a good evening. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Before I go, let me know in the comments if you want to do more of an interaction type of thing where you can share comments. I can put up a WhatsApp number where you can message privately if you have questions and comments. Do you want a slightly longer format or just a quick short message? Thank you, guys. The reason I'm asking you is I'm doing this for you, and in doing it for you, I do it for me, because this is how I build value in my life. This is how I understand that my negative self-talk is not true. That everything negative I tell myself about myself is not true. It's a wonderful thing to be able to build value for yourself. And that's why I truly love service. Thank you for allowing me to be of service. Thank you for listening. And let me know if there's anything you'd like me to chat about as well. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I love you all. Oos.